What's up, Hyperfast Nation? On this episode of the show, I am going to discuss how to respond if a seller tells you that they don't have to pay a buyer's agent commission when listing their home. Stand by for the next episode of Hyperfast Show. All right, welcome back to the show. Thanks for tuning in today. By the way, if you're getting value out of these podcasts, whether you watch on iTunes or Spotify or YouTube, please do us a favor. Leave us a review, leave us some comments, give us some feedback. We love that kind of stuff, and it helps us get better and better guests and get more reach and provide more value to more people. So thank you for doing that. Now, the NAR settlement has been on the minds of many real estate agents, team leaders, brokers, everyone in the industry for the last few months. And I've been hearing a lot of questions from different coaching clients, different people on our real estate team, and just agents in general about how to respond when a seller says, "Hey, I read in the paper that we don't have to pay a buyer's agent commission anymore," right? So that's coming up more. And I think the first thing you want to do is help them separate fact from fiction. All right, there's a lot of myths going around, a lot of misinformation. And the first thing you need to tell them is, look, you've never had to pay a buyer's agent commission. Sellers have done this primarily the last 30 years when listing homes because of changes, ironically, that came about in the 90s due to issues with buyers not getting representation. And this system we've had for since the mid-90s really came about at the request of the DOJ. But it has never required sellers to pay a commission. Now, many MLSs have had rules that state if you are a member of the MLS, if you're a member of the local realtor association, that you have to cooperate with other agents. And that means you put a universal offer of compensation to share part of the commission that the sellers agreed to pay you. All right, so that's been the rule. They have never specified an amount or a range. You could put as little as $1 in there, and then some of the MLSs eliminated that rule. Said you could even go less than $1. You could go to zero. In fact, we'll talk about it, but this rule has been in place in the state of Washington for a few years before the lawsuits and settlements and everything. All right, so it's the system we've had for 30, 35 years is the buyer, or the listing agent negotiates with the seller on a listing fee. And then they agree to share part of that listing fee with a buyer's agent, right? And this is all in writing. Sellers know about this all up front. It's in the contract they sign, and there's been millions and millions and millions of happy sellers, happy buyers under this system. But those fees have always been negotiable, and if a seller now says, "Hey, I don't have to pay this fee," you can say, "You're right. You've never had to, right? You've never had to." But it's good practice to. Like, we have data, right? We have data that shows that when sellers give more incentive for buyers to buy a home, they get better results, right? Buyer's agents have a lot of work to do, and you need to explain this, right? They've got to do a needs analysis. They've got to explain the process. They've got to help them with financing options. They've got to look for homes on and off the market, especially in these low inventory markets. They've got to show houses, coordinate questions that they may have with service providers and contractors that would affect, how they view purchasing the house. They have to negotiate offers. Many times in the last few years, buyers aren't getting the first, second, third, fourth house they write on. It's many times it takes multiple attempts because of competition, because of low inventory. So buyers put in a lot of work. Buyers agents put in a lot of work for their buyers, and they negotiate a fee up front. Right? This is the way we've always done on our team. This is the way even before the changes in the law happened, that I believe everyone should do, is meet with buyers up front, present value, demonstrate your expertise, demonstrate how you're going to help them, educate them on the process, and then negotiate your fee. Now, that fee historically has been primarily covered by an offering from the listing agent, right? Well, if a seller eliminates that, now the buyer is going to have to come out of pocket to pay for the buyer's agent, right? And here's the thing that you need to really get good at explaining to your sellers. The buyer, right? Either their cash or a combination of their cash and the lender, right, that they're financing with. The buyer pays everyone in the transaction, right? The buyer pays the seller. The buyer pays the listing agent. The buyer pays the buyer's agent. The buyer pays the title companies, right? The buyer pays every single person involved in the transaction, right? And so if they have, a pile of money, right, in the form of cash or loan or however they're doing it, and they're looking at one house where the seller's offering to credit back, a certain amount to cover the buyer agent fee, and they're looking at another house that's not, right? They're gonna be more driven to the one where it's gonna reduce their out-of-pocket cost, right? Or if they choose that house that is not offering to cover the buyer agent fee, then they're going to subtract that from their offer price, right? And their mental head, as they're crunching the numbers, they're gonna subtract that, right? So getting rid of compensating the buyer's agents from the seller side has not been proven to get sellers a higher net. At the end of the day, it's going to reduce traffic. You have to look at the buyer's agent fee as a marketing tool, right? Just like putting your home in the MLS is a marketing tool, and having great pictures, and having great staging, and having great videos, and great social media, and great open houses. A buyer's agent offer of compensation from a seller is a way to drive traffic. So if you eliminate that, you're reducing the people that will see your house. The data shows this. We've seen it in the MLSs that have had the 0% rule, the $0 rule. You can see when you look at the FSBO data, right? When people go to sell their home for sale by owner, typically only about 11% actually sell by the owner. The rest eventually, make their way over to an agent selling. So real estate agents are involved in 90% of the transactions. Those FSBOs that do sell, by the way, often take a lot longer and net the seller a lot less money, even without paying agents. So the buyer agent, offer of compensation from a seller or from the listing agent, it's just a tool that's going to get more traffic in your house. And I think in the environment we're going in, there's going to be less transparency in buyer agent compensation, right? Because in the current system, the system that's going away, there is a universal offer of cooperation that's just put out there, right? It doesn't matter what kind of agent you are. If you're a member of that MLS, that offers a universal offer. That's going away, so there's going to be less transparency, right? And I think anytime there's less transparency in the system, all right, anytime there's less transparency, I think it's actually not as beneficial for the consumers. So I don't necessarily think that the system we're going to is going to make things better for the consumer. But what I do think we'll see, right, is because it's brought more awareness to this, more sellers are focused on it. I do think we're going to have more cases of, more proof sources of buyer agent commissions helping sellers get better prices. So I'm excited for the changes that are coming. I think we're gonna be able to show with even more data, even more clarity, that using buyer agent offers of compensation from a seller, from a listing agent, is actually going to be an effective and proven tool to net the sellers more money. And these are the types of conversations you need to have with your clients, with your sellers. And you need to be excited about these changes, and you need to embrace them. So I hope that has been a lot of value for you guys today. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Hyperfast Show. Remember, please, whether you're watching on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, leave us a review, leave us some comments, give us some feedback. We love it, and we will see you next time.